The Dalton brothers, specifically Bob Dalton, Grat Dalton, and Emmett Dalton, were outlaws who gained notoriety in the American West in the late 19th century. The most famous incident involving the Dalton brothers occurred in Coffeyville, Kansas, in 1892. On October 5, 1892, the Dalton gang attempted to rob two banks simultaneously in Coffeyville. However, the attempted robbery turned into a shootout with law enforcement and armed townspeople. In the gunfight, Bob Dalton and Grat Dalton were killed, and Emmett Dalton was severely wounded. Other members of the gang were also killed or captured. The R-101, designed and built by the Royal Airship Works, was intended to be a luxurious and technologically advanced passenger airship, intended for long-distance travel. On its maiden voyage from Cardington, England, to Karachi, Pakistan, then part of British India, the R-101 encountered adverse weather conditions and structural problems. Tragically, while flying over France, the airship suffered a series of mishaps and ultimately exploded in mid-air near Beauvais, France. The explosion and subsequent crash led to the deaths of 48 of the 54 people on board, including passengers and crew members. This disaster was a significant setback for British airship development and led to the eventual decline of airships as a mode of long-distance transportation. The R-101 disaster highlighted the dangers associated with hydrogen-filled airships, as hydrogen is highly flammable. This tragedy, coupled with advancements in fixed-wing aircraft technology, contributed to the decline of airships as a viable means of commercial aviation. Parisian women marched to the Palace of Versailles. This event took place on October 5, 1789, during the French Revolution. Thousands of Parisian women, driven by grievances such as high bread prices, food shortages, and economic difficulties, marched from Paris to the Palace of Versailles to convey their demands to King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette. This event is considered a significant turning point in the French Revolution. The women gathered in front of the palace, managed to enter the royal palace, and held discussions with the royal family. As a result of this event, the king and queen decided to return to Paris, which in turn contributed to the weakening of the monarchy and the eventual establishment of a republic. The March of Parisian Women to Versailles is a notable event in the course of the French Revolution. Steve Jobs, the co-founder and iconic CEO of Apple Inc., was born on February 24, 1955, and he passed away on October 5, 2011, in Palo Alto, California. His death was a result of complications from a rare form of pancreatic neuroendocrine tumor. Steve Jobs' death was widely mourned in the technology world and beyond, and his leadership at Apple was known for numerous innovations and product developments. His legacy lives on through Apple's design-centric approach and commitment to delivering exceptional user experiences in their products. The Yom Kippur War, also known as the October War or the Ramadan War, indeed broke out between the Arab countries, primarily Egypt and Syria, and Israel. The war began on October 6, 1973, which was Yom Kippur, the holiest day in Judaism. Egypt and Syria launched coordinated surprise attacks on Israeli positions in the Sinai Peninsula and the Golan Heights, respectively. The conflict was a result of long-standing tensions and disputes over territory, including the Sinai Peninsula and the Golan Heights, which Israel had occupied since the Six-Day War in 1967. The Yom Kippur War was a significant and costly conflict for all parties involved and had a lasting impact on the geopolitics of the Middle East. It eventually led to a ceasefire and negotiations, including the Camp David Accords between Israel and Egypt in 1978, which led to the return of the Sinai Peninsula to Egypt. The United States began military operations in Afghanistan as part of the global war on terror following the September 11, 2001, terrorist attacks. The U.S. invasion of Afghanistan, known as Operation Enduring Freedom, officially began on October 7, 2001, when U.S. and Allied forces launched airstrikes against the Taliban regime and Al-Qaeda terrorist networks in Afghanistan. The invasion aimed to dismantle Al-Qaeda, which was responsible for the 9/11 attacks, and removed the Taliban from power, as they were harboring in supporting al-Qaeda. The conflict in Afghanistan continued for many years, evolving into a protracted war with significant consequences for the region and the world. The Battle of Lepanto, which took place on October 7, 1571, near the town of Lepanto, in Turkish, Inabadi, resulted in the defeat of the Ottoman fleet by the Christian United Navy. The Christian fleet, organized by the Holy League, consisted primarily of forces from the Papal States, Spain, and the Venetian Republic. This naval battle was a significant event in the Mediterranean during the late 16th century and marked a major defeat for the Ottoman Empire's naval power. It was indeed a crucial moment in the ongoing conflict between the Ottoman Empire and Christian European states. British explorer Captain James Cook is credited with the discovery and exploration of New Zealand. In 1769, Cook sailed to New Zealand aboard the HMS Endeavour with the mission to chart the coasts of both the North and South Islands. During his voyage, he mapped the coastlines, made contact with the indigenous Maori people, and conducted various scientific observations. Captain Cook's exploration of New Zealand marked the beginning of European awareness and engagement with the islands. His discoveries were instrumental in opening up New Zealand to further exploration and eventual colonization by Europeans. Cook's voyages in the Pacific had a significant impact on the understanding of geography and the expansion of European influence in the region. The Great Chicago Fire was a major disaster that occurred in the city of Chicago, USA. The fire began on October 8, 1871, and lasted until October 10, 1871. The fire's point of origin was a fire in a barn owned by a couple named Catherine and Patrick O'Leary. Due to the rapid spread of the fire and strong winds, it could not be contained. As a result, wooden buildings in the city quickly caught fire and were destroyed. The Great Chicago Fire led to the destruction of a large part of Chicago and the loss of approximately 300 lives. Additionally, more than 100,000 people were left homeless, and a total of over 17,000 structures were demolished. The fire accelerated the process of rebuilding Chicago and transforming it into a modern city. The city was reconstructed with sturdier and fire-resistant buildings, ultimately growing into a major hub of business, culture, and commerce in the United States. Che Guevara had played a pivotal role alongside Fidel Castro in the Cuban Revolution, toppling Cuban dictator Fulgencio Batista in 1959 and assuming various positions in the Cuban government. He had become an iconic symbol of revolution worldwide. However, in the mid-1960s, Che Guevara left Cuba and embarked on a mission to promote armed revolution in other Latin American countries, including Bolivia. His aim was to ignite a continent-wide revolution. Yet, Che's efforts in Bolivia did not unfold as planned. His small group of guerrilla fighters faced numerous challenges, including a lack of support from local populations and being pursued by Bolivian and American intelligence agencies. On October 8, 1967, Bolivian soldiers captured Che Guevara and his group. Che was wounded and taken as a prisoner of war. The following day, on October 9, 1967, he was executed by order of the Bolivian government, with the assistance of the CIA. The capture and subsequent execution of Che Guevara had significant implications for revolutionary movements in Latin America and within the broader global context of the Cold War. His life and ideals continue to be a subject of fascination and debate, remaining an enduring symbol of revolution and struggle for many people around the world. On October 8, 1918, the Meuse-Argonne Offensive commenced as a significant military operation during World War I. This offensive marked one of the largest American-led campaigns of the war and played a crucial role in the eventual Allied victory. The Meuse-Argonne Offensive began on September 26, 1918, and continued until November 11, 1918, the day the war officially ended. Under the command of General John J. Pershing, the American Expeditionary Forces led the charge against German positions in the Meuse-Argonne region of France. This offensive was conducted in coordination with French and other Allied forces. The Meuse-Argonne offensive took place at a time when Germany's forces were dwindling towards the end of the war. American troops managed to break through German defenses and contributed to forcing Germany into an armistice. This operation hastened the conclusion of World War I. The Meuse-Argonne offensive is recognized as a significant military success and highlighted the prominent role played by the United States in World War I.